While we're waiting for the rest of our attendees to show up here, we can go ahead and get started with some introductions. My name is Shane. I run the events over at 10 Capital Network, and we're really excited to have Manjusha join us from ProAutus Technologies. We're going to be talking about blockchain today. So with that, I'll let our CEO Hall take it away.
Great, Shane. Thanks so much. And Manjusha, thank you for joining us today. Looking forward to talking more about blockchain and what's going on in the space. It's so much going on, of course, but maybe we can kick off a little bit about what's your take on the current marketplace? What do you see out there right now in the blockchain market space? What's going on?
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Yeah, as we see in the last 4 or 5 years, the blockchain technology has sort of taken, I think it has ended its gestation period and coming to an inflection point. Along with that, combining the Web 3.0 architecture has evolved many more decentralized business models, and many industries are thinking of using the technology to better reach their fans. The creator economy overall is creating, a demand for the blockchain-based application. So there's a tremendous growth, especially in the last 18 months or so, in some real-world applications and business model being born using the blockchain technology. It's over the just being a cryptocurrency and cryptocurrency making some money by trading those pairs. It's over that now, and real-world applications and business models are being born with entertainment, media, sports, all of these industries, along with the financial services, trying to come into this space and creating different business models where they are able to connect to their fans directly. So just to give you some sort of a stats on the overall market, just last year, the record growth in terms of Web 3.0 developers, right? Still at early stage, but all of the 65% of the Web 3.0 development has taken place entirely in 2021. That's the speed at which it's growing. Large number of developers are joining that. And some of these systems are open systems. So it's really easy to kind of get some stats out of the GitHub, see who's working where, who's committing code on which open blockchain systems. So tremendous growth here for last year, especially some of the newer industries coming and making use of the technology. So a lot of growth that creates a lot of chase for the good talent in the space. That's where I see where I sit today.
Great. Well, early on, we saw a lot of development in the wallets and the exchanges. Where do you see most of the development taking place today? What applications do you see getting the most attention?
So 2021 was the year of the NFTs per se. I'm sure everybody have heard that word very much now. Last year, that wasn't so much common, but that's where I have seen and we have seen from where we sit. Yes, it was all about exchanges, marketplaces, wallets up to 2018, 2019. 2020 started with NFTs and 2021 took NFTs to the different level. So all the non-fungible tokens which allow any creator to kind of create asset out of its creation, and whosoever values that asset is able to buy. So NFT marketplaces like OpenSea, tremendous growth. OpenSea just started last year, and within a year, I think, or less than a few months, they were able to raise good amount of funding at $1 billion valuation. And then the last round was $13 billion. That's the kind of growth that OpenSea saw. And it's all about creator economy, where you are able to create your creations, put it on a blockchain, create an NFT out of it, and then somebody who values it is able to buy and transfer. Great. On the chain.
Well, there are many people that want to develop blockchain applications or move their application to the blockchain. What do you find out there for finding developers to actually do that these days? What do you see happening there?
Too much, I think, emerging technologies, talent pool is still small and short. So obviously too many applications chasing too few developers. Talent is a scarce resource here, but it's an open source system, right? So that way, people who have worked on some large scale applications before and have some enterprise and architectural knowledge behind them are able to pick up these blockchain platforms and able to write good applications overall. But I would say it's a very scarce and shortage-based marketplace right now in terms of finding the right blockchain talent.
Great. Well, we have a question from the audience, and if you are in the audience, I welcome your questions. We'll answer them as we go along. And the question is, can you outline a checklist that we can use to interview blockchain developer firms? What are the key areas to ensure we hire a quality firm?
Yeah, so as I said, blockchain is definitely an emerging technology, but good engineering skill set, which is just checking what sort of applications were built before. Those were enterprise level applications, complex applications, because if you have the basic engineering skill set and if you have built some sizable applications in the past, those engineers should be able to pick up new language, which requires a smart contract language development for a blockchain, and we'd be able to tie it all together, because end of the day, blockchain is just one piece of your application, right? You will have to have the end-to-end application written. So basic engineering skill set, their references in terms of what sort of applications or systems they have built before, supported before, those would be your reference criteria to evaluate a firm that you're working with.
What engineering skills do you find unique to blockchain that you don't find as much in just general enterprise software development? What stands out as a unique skill that we have to start looking for more?
So in terms of blockchain development, there are languages which are specific to blockchain, right? So smart contract languages. So Ethereum, if you go with Solidity is the one. If you go with Solana and some of the newer ones, Rust, right? So those specific skill set is what you got to look for to make sure the engineers understand how to write the smart contracts. But overall architecture is equally important, right? How does that smart contract fit into your web application or a mobile application that you're building? Ultimately, you're not going to deliver everything on the blockchain, right? We are still not in that world where the entire application is decentralized. So you have somewhere user onboarding, which is your web or mobile application. And then once the user is onboarded, you will probably be able to get them to a certain set of asset that's minted on a blockchain. So an architect should know how to put it all together. So two things you should look for is specific smart contract development experience, which is in the area of a chain that either you're picking or blockchain, that platform that you want to use, and then overall enterprise architecture level skill set with the firm that you're working.
And do you need special skills with data management? With enterprise, we just put it into a database. Seems like blockchain has a different way of managing data. What are the skills required there?
So yeah, blockchain, because it's a shared database, it has its own way of managing the database. So unless you're looking at creating a data-centric business model using a blockchain, you don't probably need to specifically look for a database management skill set, because if you're going with, say, a cloud-based application, which has a blockchain as a part of it, then the overall architecture will take care of the database management. But if you say you're storing the data into the blockchain and then you want to do something specifically with that, then you may need the data architect to define those strategies.
Right. And then, what is the most common mistake people make here when they select a blockchain team? What do you find is the missing element here?
Yeah, so as I told you before, the entire big picture, the entire application architecture is very important. Blockchain is just one piece of it. So just getting one or two blockchain engineers to develop the whole program without thinking about a holistic enterprise application, who the users are, who the consumers are, right? Building in that perspective. Sometimes you just tend to onboard few blockchain engineers and tend to write the applications. I think that's something to make sure that most of the applications will have a full flow and should be looked at in a holistic way rather than just saying, hey, I need few blockchain engineers to build this.
And to that question, early on, I saw many proposals where they were using blockchain for everything, including the interface and so many other things aside from just the central core functionality. How do you see the other elements fitting in, or what place does blockchain take in the architecture, and what else do you have to put around it with maybe more traditional technologies?
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a very important and excellent point. Most of the mistakes also happen in terms of architecting the system. Hey, we want to use blockchain for everything. Is the use case really right? Do you really need a blockchain for that? Or could you just do away with the blockchain? Because while blockchain is good for certain things, it's slow, it's expensive for transactions and writing to the database. So that important piece of information of what your use case is. Blockchain is mostly good in terms of issuance of asset and ownership, right? It is very good to define who has the ownership of what type of asset, right? And that's kind of immutable, which is the piece that blockchain brings to the table. It is also very good at doing the peer-to-peer settlement, right? Which is if somebody is buying something from someone, we used to have intermediaries in between, which will facilitate that transaction before. Blockchain is good at making sure the asset is transferred between the two parties without having an intermediary. So in a typical financial term, we'll call it a settlement. So blockchain is good at issuance, ownership, right, in settlement. But when it comes to heavy duty transactional systems, blockchain is not good at doing too many transactions, fast transactions. It doesn't have the speed as of today, at least. It's an evolving technology, and I'm sure people will find way to improve it, but it's not good at building heavy duty transactional systems. So that's where you need to have an architecture which centralizes certain part of your application, allows you to write a software application, which takes the asset from the blockchain, allows you to do the centralized way of transaction management, and then moves it onto the chain again. So that combination of on-chain, off-chain architecture is very important to build.
Great. So we have another question from the audience. Will blockchain development firms typically have expertise in tokenomics, or is that a separate skill set done by somebody else?
No, most of the technologies don't know what tokenomics means. So you will have to have, and most of those firms are either consulting, advisory, or legal firms, which will tell you what the legal structure of your token should be, what should be the way tokenomics work. And somebody who builds that token for you is a technical skill set. But yeah, so short answer is it's a separate skill set to build tokenomics.
Okay. And for someone that's just now, a startup just now going into the blockchain space and starting to do development, what do you coach them to expect? What expectations should they have, and what should they be looking for?
This is the blockchain application writers, or the...
Well, yeah, a startup wants to build a blockchain application and they haven't done it before. What every new technology seems to have a new level of expectation you have to come to understand because it's part of the language or the structure or what have you. And what is it with blockchain?
So yeah, with blockchain, again, very important to know why you're using a blockchain, and is the blockchain only answer for your application here? Do you really need to use it? Most of the time is sometimes, hey, now it's a blockchain time and a blockchain business model. So let's try and bring a blockchain in here. The use case has to be very relevant for it. You have to make sure that you're not building a very transaction heavy system on the blockchain, because you will experience slowness. I'm sure some of you must have seen the gas fee issue that everybody talks about, those who build on blockchain, right? So asset transfer, sometimes a $10 asset could cost you $50 to transfer, right? So is it a right use case for that? Consider your architecture, consider what needs to go on chain, what needs to go off chain. Overall, it's very important discussion to have.
And how do you evaluate the different solutions that are out there? It used to be just, Ethereum, for example, but now you have Solana and so many other choices. How do you do that performance analysis, or how do you coach people to approach that?
So again, based on your business model, right? But Solana, if you just look at it, they claim that they are much faster than Ethereum. Ethereum has a scaling problem in terms of transactions throughput per second. Solana is faster, but with faster speed, what comes to you is centralization, right? So they are much more centralized, and Ethereum is fully decentralized. So based on your business model, you evaluate that. Some firms may evaluate it based on the skill set available, right? So Solana is a different smart contract language. Ethereum is Solidity, and that's across a couple of platform common. Ethereum has, because it's been around for so long, it has a Java-based EVM, virtual machine that's running. So it has more connectivity with Java, which has a larger skill set of developments that are available, developers pool that is available. So based on the developer skill set, based on your use case, based on the business model, is it transaction heavy? Is it slow but high value? Those are kind of considerations that you will make to choose the right blockchain platform.
Great. So every day you hear about another hacking inside the blockchain crypto world. And of course, that's where the money is. So that's where everyone goes. But is that a function of just the tools being very early stage, nascent? Or is there a programming capability or engineering expertise that could be brought to it that maybe has not been brought to it so far?
It's just the function of the way the assets sit on the wire. So anybody sort of who is able to hack while the money is moving, right? So there are the custody of a blockchain or a digital asset is one of the biggest problem the industry is, and because it's early days, right? So if you look at it from 2017, 2018 onwards, there's a lot more custody solutions, wallet solutions that are coming. So just, I think the process of evolution, you will have a lot more secure tool that gets built over a period of time. But its intrinsic nature of this asset is such that it can be hacked, right? So you'll never be able to get to the level of zero hacking, but industry will develop itself into a lot more secure toolkit going forward.
If someone wants to put an NFT application together, what unique skills are needed for that? What's special for NFTs that you don't find in, say, DeFi or these other applications?
So NFTs typically is created out of some sort of a collectible item, right? A collectible item that's of value. So you certainly need the blockchain talent, right, to be able to create an NFT. NFT could be a digital art, NFT could be a music album, it could be a movie clip, a sports event, anything, right? So you need a blockchain smart contract developer who's able to sort of write that this particular asset is identified by this smart contract, and this particular file is attached to that ownership. And then obviously you need to make these NFTs available to be able to sold to certain set of consumers or users or fans of yours. Then you need an application where people are able to onboard the users, allow them to purchase. So you need a payment flow for that. Right? So you need user onboarding, you need asset minting, you need payment application where people should be able to either pay through their wallet connectivity through the crypto, or you need fiat connectivity, which is either credit card or anything. So it's again an entire application flow that you need, but the specific to it is the blockchain part of it, which somebody is able to create the NFT out of the blockchain smart contract.
Great. And then the other application we hear a lot of is decentralized financing, DeFi, and it's using composability where you can reuse blocks over and over again. What kind of engineering skill is required to really access that network and produce effective applications there?
So that's like a core blockchain talent, right? So you're pretty much getting to a level of writing the protocol. So there are different layers of blockchain application writing. So you have this one protocol layer where you actually write the block, you write the mechanism by which the block is validated, right? Proof of work, proof of scope, stake. The next level to that is you create application which use these blockchain protocols. They are called DApps, decentralized apps. So creation of NFT is actually a DApp, which sits on a centralized or a decentralized network, which is the blockchain protocol. So writing, some complex decentralized applications or DeFi applications, you will need to get into the core blockchain programming mechanism, which is pretty much creation of a protocol.
Great. So we have a question from the audience. I am currently evaluating 2 blockchains for my project, Algorand and Near, N-E-A-R. Do you have any comments or pros or cons of those 2 choices?
Need to, get into a little bit more details about what the application is, but yeah, I've heard both of these, and many of the clients that we work are using Near and Algorand, right? So each one of them have their own pros and cons, but those need to be evaluated against some specific use cases. I'm happy to sort of take that offline and understand a little bit more context and give some views.
Right, we'll connect you afterwards, and so you can talk with people more specifically about what the requirements are, because there's quite a few choices out there these days. It just seems like there's an exponential number of platforms, permissionless, the networks, and just so many things that you can choose from.
Correct.
So
there's permission, private permission, there's permissionless, right? And within the permissionless also, there are many layer 1 alternatives which are coming in, right? So it's a serious sort of decision to be made, which blockchain to go with.
Right. Well, early on, it was very, nascent, and all you could do was build a wallet or an exchange. But today, it seemed like you have sufficient tools to build more meaningful applications.
Yes.
What's your take on the current state? Can you really build truly elegant top-level applications, or do we still need more infrastructure to get there?
Oh, we're still in very, very early stages, but it's I would say it's much better than 2017, right? It's much better than 2017 in terms of 2 things. In 2017, there used to be just sort of white papers like a .com we have seen, right? And on the basis of it, people were able to raise a lot of money without having any application running. The difference I see from my perspective is there's a lot of real world applications that are actually coming in here, which bring in efficiency because of the technology. So it's not the technology chasing the use cases, it's the use cases chasing the technology now. Especially the music world, entertainment world, right? They are able to reach directly to their fans through this technology. So NFTs is one such movement, I think, which will become larger and larger as we see. So sports is another one, right? Concert ticketing, all of that, the blockchain technology is coming and the NFT is changing, and then taking out a lot of middlemen like the scalpers in the ticketing industry can be easily avoided by using this technology, as well as every time there's a change of hand of a ticket from concert one user to another, the artist actually can get a pie of that that they before not used to have access to, right? So that's why that movement is a much bigger than all of us think it is in terms of direct to consumer access for the artists and entertainers.
Great. The next question is, I am an integration developer and I want to be a blockchain developer. I'm studying. What do you see large companies adopting blockchain now or in the future? And how well do you see them accepting it?
Blockchain technology is definitely growing in terms of its acceptance. Large companies, startups, newer companies, and it is not just limited to finance anymore. It's across the different. So I would say, if you want to get into the field and study blockchain, you'll certainly have a great future.
Great. And where do you see big companies going first with their blockchain applications? Is it the finance, or is it something else that you see them applying it to?
I see it across the board this time. That's the difference, I think, between the technologies. It's finance to get rid of some of the inefficiency in the financial services side. It's entertainment, it's brands trying to manage their connections with their fans through the NFTs, right? So it's entertainment industry, it's sports industry, it is retail industry. I'm sure you must have seen lots of brands like Nikes and the Gucci's and the Pradas are all coming up with NFTs to stay connected and stay engaged with their followers and their influencers. So it's across the board this time, and that's where the moment is a lot bigger.
Great. Early on, there was a lot of work around identity, knowing who that person is on the blockchain. Where are we with identity management, and where do you see it going?
Yeah, so there is definitely a lot more progress that has happened. And that could be one great use case. I think a lot of banks, a lot of financial institutions are trying to work on tokenized identity, where you just take your one token and then across the board, that's your identity, right? Instead of trying to fill the KYC, trying to give every place you go, trying to give all your details on the web. That's where the identity management, and there are a lot of startups who have put the identity on the blockchain and bringing in even KYC and AML, where the token and the whitelist of tokens tells you if there's any parties out there which are not on the whitelist and if they are blacklisted for some reason. So if you're onboarding somebody, it's a quick check whether you belong to the short whitelist or blacklist for onboarding a user. So that's all getting streamlined quite a bit using the blockchain.
Great. I see a number of social media applications coming up using blockchain technology. Do you think social media is a good use case for blockchain, or do you think that's a not efficient one?
It's actually a good use case in a sense that the whole theme of moving from a centralized architecture to decentralized and having users own their own data and using that data and getting monetized for that data. Up till now, what has been the case with the social media is most of the centralized entities like the Facebooks, the YouTubes, the Instagrams, they monetize the user content. With blockchain, what happens is you're owner of your content, and every time that content is actually valued by somebody as a user, it is the piece of that reward gets to you. So again, a very big moment, and it will move, social media will all move into the decentralized way going forward.
In blockchain, we're trying to get to the ultimate goal that everything is decentralized, but I've read that there's quite a few applications where you want to centralize things. How do you marry the two together, where you get decentralization, but where necessary, you can centralize for efficiency or transaction efficiency's sake?
So yeah, I think building the hybrid application will definitely be the key. A lot of things will move to a decentralized format, but like Web 2.0 took us almost 20 years for us to move from Web 1.0 architecture to 2.0. Similarly, it's going to be a process of 20, 25 years or more where we get to a final stage. But I think hybrid applications building, where you, based on each use case, you really decide where the perfect fit for blockchain is, what are the benefits that it brings to your business model, and then what are the things that need to be centralized. That's definitely going to be the evolving Web 3.0 architecture. Part of it is centralized, part of it is decentralized.
Great. And a question I always ask people, what online information source do you find most helpful in your work?
So Reddit, GitHub, Discord, these are some of the new places. Twitter has a lot of content over these things. Medium, right? HackerNoon, some of these publications have a lot of information of what goes in this space.
Great. And then I always ask, if you could start a business tomorrow, not this one, but another one, what business would you start?
I'm always been into technology space, so fascinated by technology. And always fascinated by emerging technologies. So, we are into the space of Web 3.0. I would definitely love to explore using the technology and changing some of the current business models into that. So mostly if you ask me, looking at what's going on today, I would like to create a marketplace where you can use the Web 3.0 architecture and you can bring in the asset ownership and decentralized architecture together.
Great. Another question from the audience. Is it possible to share some companies that are working or using with blockchain now that you're familiar with?
Yeah. So the which blockchain is specific blockchain or any type of protocols?
Any type of protocol, but if you can call out the protocol, that would be interesting to see what they're adopting.
So yeah, one of our customers, Yellow Heart, is an NFT marketplace for music and digital art, is using Ethereum blockchain as well as Polygon, which is a layer 2. Polygon is used for scaling, where Ethereum is slow. We actually do a lot of transactions at a layer 2 in Polygon. We have also used private permissioned blockchain called R3 Coda, which is for the corporate bond trading platform. So the distinction that we have seen between permissioned and permissionless is whenever there is a traditional asset, which is securities and regulated by the regulators, you typically go with the permission blockchain network. Whenever there's an open network and non-regulated industry, public blockchain protocols. So we've used Ethereum, we have used Polygon, we have used Hyperledger, we have used R3 Coda. We are just getting into Solana, Near, and Flow, these three.
One of the early applications for blockchain was in the mortgage space because you had so many different disparate sources of information that had to come together. And of course, it's around very important information that you need to keep for a long time. So it seemed like an ideal application for blockchain. And while they coded it up and it worked, they had a hard time selling it because it was a new technology in a very staid industry. They've been doing this way for many, many years, and they were very afraid. The customer was very afraid to move over to a new technology platform. What do you see out there? What can you do to convince them to move to a new platform when it is such a brand new technology space?
Yeah, I can very well relate to it because we've had two customers where we had some traditional old industries was trying to move to blockchain, and that project took forever. It just got stuck because it's very hard for some of these legacy institutions to sort of move to the new technology because they don't understand it, they don't have internal skill set with it. So yeah, it's very hard, but most of the legacy institutions will take time moving to the blockchain. Traditionally regulated industry will take longer, but the newer business models and the newer startups, they are able to move forward with this technology much faster.
And what would you say is the value proposition in the mortgage lending space? Why would they move to a new one? Financial transactions really aren't a high performance thing for blockchain. And again, you can, I think, see some efficiencies there, but what would you call out as the key selling point for blockchain in that application?
I mean, the mortgage, specifically given the amount of documentation and the paper that flows from one place to another to get a mortgage approved itself can bring in a lot of efficiency, right? You don't have to share same documents to 10 different entities. It could be put on a node and everybody could get access to it. And everybody could validate those documents to move the application much faster. It can reduce the time to process the application, which creates a lot more further efficiencies, A, for the users, and B, also for the entities which are lending or borrowing, right? So there are efficiencies to be brought. It's just that bigger organizations, as we see, bigger organizations, bigger companies and regulated entities, always, it's hard for them because of the regulation to move into a particular direction fast enough. So that's process is slow by its own constraints.
Good. And my next last question is, NFTs have sometimes been referred to as the killer app for blockchain. It's a way that it engages a large number of people, industries, for something that's probably not that hard to build, but it's going to move a lot of people's mind share over to blockchain. Do you think NFT is the killer app, or do you think it's going to be something else?
I think it's a killer app because it allows so many different things, right? It allows the asset ownership. It allows any creator to create the content, convert it into NFT, and if they have the fan followings and somebody values their creation, it democratizes the whole marketplace concept, right? That's quite a big power, and there's a lot more that will come into the NFTs, right? Once you buy a concert ticket, you could then have that as a living NFT living with you, and the artist could directly communicate with you from there onwards as engagement, saying, hey, you came to my concert here, look, these are my few clips of backstage video, or you could have coffee with, right? So there's a lot more that fans and engagement and direct to artists connections can create. So I think it's a killer app that got us here with the evolution of blockchain technology.
Great. If anybody else has a question, go ahead and post it now. And Manjusha, what anything else you would like to add? What else should we cover that we haven't?
No, I think we covered a lot. But yeah, very interesting technology, still in the early stages, a lot more to come, a lot more evolution on the technology tools front as well as the business model front. So very exciting times ahead.
Great. And so how best for listeners to get back in touch with you?
So yeah, LinkedIn, I am on LinkedIn. Same, my first name, last name is my Twitter. And I could post it here, my email on the chat for everybody. Just feel free to reach out on email, LinkedIn, or Twitter. I'm just typing in my email address in the chat.
Great. And so you're on the eastern coast of the US right now, is that correct?
That's right. I'm on the Eastern time zone. I'm in Princeton, New Jersey.
Right. With blockchain, I've learned to ask that question because sometimes I set up calls and discover they're on the eastern coast of China. And so time zones are an issue here when you're working with something that is truly global. So appreciate your sharing that with us today. And hope to have you back for a follow-up soon.
Oh, yeah, it was my pleasure. And you rightly said, I work with customers across the globe, Hong Kong, Asia, London, Europe, US. So, yeah, but I am based in the US on the Eastern time zone.
I think blockchain is the first technology that is truly global as far as engaging every sphere. And I remember back in the early 2000s, I was talking to some finance people who said, in 2 or 3 years, the NASDAQ will be 24/7, and we will have, trading, constantly nonstop, and everything will be global. And of course, they never got there. In fact, the only thing that changed in the last 20 years was the time of trading, which was nothing. So I think blockchain and crypto came in to kind of fill the need that was there even back then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think we've been coming from that marketplaces, right? Traditional marketplaces. But crypto is 24/7. They never sleep. Sun never sets on crypto.
Great. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and close it out. If there are no more questions, we'll connect you with everybody afterwards, but appreciate your taking time to share that with us today. This brave new world with blockchain, more to learn, of course, but also it's going to be great. So looking forward to what the technology brings us next. And thank you for sharing that insight with us on this show today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for all the questions, and thank you for all the audience and attendees for listening. And please feel free to reach out. Happy to just have a conversation because it's really, really exciting times that we are all getting into.
Great. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate you joining us, and hope to have you back for another investor info session in the future. And with that, we'll go ahead and close it out. Thanks, Manjusha.
Thank you.